this will work. All right, cool. All right, man, go ahead and give me like a check 1, 2 or whatever.
Check 1, 2.
Cool, perfect, man. We are good to go.
Awesome.
All right, bro. Bear Gallagher, where are you at right now, man? Is that your home studio there?
Yep.
That's pretty badass, bro. I got to admit. Dang, bro, you got all kinds of stuff in there. Are those records behind you?
Yep.
Holy shit! So let's get right into it, man. This is pretty interesting. I didn't know it was like that. So you spin records, like actual vinyl and all that stuff.
Sometimes. I played exclusively vinyl for about probably 15 years.
Gotcha.
But I am definitely more of I like keeping up with the new tech. So to be honest, I only play vinyl every once in a while these days.
Sure.
I've got a Den in Prime 4 and I use that mainly because it's just nice and easy.
Right. No, I understand for sure. So I guess we'll just kind of get right into it. This is my first time ever putting together a for real podcast with a bunch of guys, man. So just bear with me on some of this stuff, all right, man?
No problem.
But let's see. So tell us about yourself personally, man. So are you from Arizona? Is family there?
Yeah, I've been I actually grew up in the Grand Canyon National Park.
The Grand Canyon National Park, man. That's pretty
about
awesome.
5 minutes from the rim of the Grand Canyon.
Is it? No, really? You said about 5 minutes?
Yeah, I lived right inside the park. There was not a huge club scene in the Grand Canyon National Park, as you might be able to guess.
Right, so, I'm sure.
Right,
Yeah.
Right when I graduated, I headed out of there. And I had some residencies in Scottsdale for a while, Vegas, and
in Vegas. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun, definitely. Back in the day, but I've been DJing. I got my first little DJ set about 1993.
Okay.
Got my first residency right straight out of high school in about 97, and basically paid my way through college.
Really?
Paid my way through everything I've done. I'm 40 now, and I've been DJing the whole time. I've had other jobs in between.
Sure.
But I ran my own multi-op for a little while. And then now I'm the manager of one. I'm not the owner, but I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. So we live way up in the mountains, about 7,000 feet.
Wow. Holy crap.
Lots of weddings here because it's a beautiful area, but it's also a college town. So I still do.
Is it okay? I'm unfamiliar with the Grand Canyon, Arizona at all. So that's pretty interesting to me. So that's a college town. Okay, that's awesome.
But it's Arizona, but it's if you're thinking cactus or anything, it's more like Colorado where I'm at.
Gotcha.
All
okay.
Pine trees. We're way up in the mountains. Lots of skiing. Big ski season every year. So.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So not a huge club scene out there, then, man. So what you're saying, but it looks like there's some business as far as the corporate gigs and all that go.
Oh yeah.
On Facebook, man, we were talking about just you had basically a company that you had and a whole coalition of DJs that you had underneath you that you were basically running right before all this shit happened with the government and COVID and all that stuff, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
That's pretty awesome, man. So amidst COVID-19, it's had to have hit you pretty hard, given the fact that that was what you were doing. You didn't technically have a day job or anything. You were running your own business personally right there in Arizona. Let's see. Let's talk about predating COVID, right? So let's talk about your career before all this crap happened. So you had your own company, and you said you did have a couple of DJ residencies, but before 2020 and the pandemic actually hit and it actually started to affect our industry, what were some of the goals you had? Because everybody, on New Year's Eve, all of us DJs, every year we always have a bunch of roadblocks that we want to hit and that we want to get to and all that. For you personally, Bear, what was? I got a little bit of interruption there. Looks like his call failed. Let's see here. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up?
That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes that crap happens, bro. It's all good. Yeah. If that happens again, we'll just keep moving through it. But let me see. Audio levels are good. We're all good.
You were basically saying like pre-COVID where things were at and what my goals were for 2020 before everything hit.
Right.
It was it was a big deal for me this year because I had gotten back into it, but I was actually running a multi-op. So I had about 10 to 12 DJs working for me there. And we were doing mainly weddings, college events, corporate, stuff like that. But also that company that I work for is called Peaks Pro Group, or has Peaks Audio and Peaks Pro Event Services, which is the part that I ran.
Right.
We did all the full concerts, audio, video, lighting, full concert setups. We ran the main kind of concert venue here in Flagstaff. That everything got hit, everything got taken out. And not only that, I was running my own company called First Drop Entertainment, where I had been working in bars and clubs so long, but also working full time doing that and planning and training DJs and stuff. I had gotten to the point where I had about in between 5 and 7 bars and clubs going every Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
Where I had DJs going in and working, and I was helping with PA equipment for that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So all of that gone too. So basically, in 2019, I was kind of like involved in planning, or the person in charge, or performing or DJing at almost 500 events.
Gotcha.
Like 400
wow.
something. So my goal for 2020 was to hit that 500 mark, and I was well on my way. I probably would have hit it. But my last gig was a St. Patrick's Day gig before they had to close everything down in Arizona.
Right.
They did that, and I've been live streaming and doing stuff like that since. I know there's definitely DJs around the area still doing stuff here and there, but I personally, in my own opinion, I'm just not ready to get out there and be in a bar. And
I got you. No. I feel that 100%, bro. And that was going to be, one of my questions here was, as far as, that's one of the questions I've been asking a lot, that I'm going to start asking some of the guys that when we do this was, before COVID, like what was your last gig? I mean, you have to remember it. Like mine was Yvonne Adams here in Tallahassee, and it wasn't that packed that night, but I remember it was right before all this started to take place, and I had just gotten the gig. I had just finally quit my day job. I had just started to be able to DJ full time, and COVID-19 happened. You know what I mean? And then it just completely took the wind out of my sails. So I figured that, I'd like to talk about that with some other guys, in America and in the country that have had the same thing happen to them, So
yeah,
it's been gnarly, man. So what was the very last gig? You said it was St. Patrick's Day, right? So yeah. What was this already happening, or were you like, at that point, there's no way you could believe that we would be here, right?
Well, yeah, it had just started. Things were slowing down. I come from a huge Irish family, like a whole bunch of Boston Irish people in my family, right?
Gotcha.
And I was like, I'm not gonna not DJ on St. Patrick's Day. I gotta do St. Patrick's Day.
That's like our ritual. That's like a ritual for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We made it. We made it through that night, but that was the last thing. Then they closed the doors on all the most of the bars and clubs. Things were here and there trying to stay open, but with social distancing, it was like, you weren't going to have anybody in there trying to have a dance floor packed. And,
we went to the club, here a couple weeks ago just to kind of see what it was like, because I wasn't DJing or anything. They just had some music playing. So we went up there to check it out, and it was weird, man. There wasn't anybody in there. Some people had face masks on, some people didn't. And and when that happened, that was a motivating moment for me to want to put this together and start interviewing some of you guys, because I'm like, man, is what we do and what we love to do, like, is it ever gonna come back? Are we ever gonna be able to continue to do what we love to do? And that kind of like segues me into this other question here. It's like, as a DJ, and as being a corporate DJ myself and being a club DJ throughout the years myself, it's sometimes DJing can turn into like a job sometimes, rather than, especially when you have like a girlfriend that's steady, like a wife, or you have kids and stuff like that. It becomes sometimes it can feel like a job after a while. And instead of getting that rush of being in front of a crowd of people, sometimes the same people or new people every weekend, you just kind of figure it's a paycheck. You look at it like, okay, this is another paycheck for this weekend, and so on and so forth. Oh, we got a disconnection here. It's okay.
But we were talking about, I think, basically how it can get old to be in the same club, doing the same thing, maybe playing the same thing.
And it becomes like a paycheck, right? Like sometimes it can become like a paycheck sort of. So I figure, if we could talk about that, I mean, this is one thing that happened to me, and I remember this is one major thing that I had to learn, you know what I mean? Because I've been DJing since I was 16 years old, I'm 29 right now, so not as long as you, but I started around that same age where I fell in love with it at a young age and knew that's what I wanted to do. I'll tell you what, man, there was a lot of gigs. Like I remember back when I first started, like any gig, I would take any gig. It didn't matter what it was, you know what I mean? I would just be happy to be playing in front of people, but over time, we can become ungrateful for some of the gigs that we get, can't we? Like we can take some of the gigs for granted. Like, sometimes when you're in not such a packed room and you're used to having a packed room all the time, then all of a sudden it's almost like it's not good enough for you. I'll tell you what, since this has happened and I have had no choice whatsoever but to sit down and not play, I personally have had a new appreciation for really any gig I've ever had, and I definitely look at it differently. And the fact that this happened just opened up my eyes. What about you, man? I mean, has your appreciation for just gigging anything so far for whatever amount of money like gone up a little bit? Like maybe that little DJ kid inside of you that once existed is, maybe coming to the surface during this time. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been both ways, two different ways for me. So first, I was DJing a lot and really involved in corporate audio and video in 2008 when the recession hit.
Gotcha.
And it was very similar to this. Not quite as a long of a period, but it was almost like a purge, just like this is. Where
really? So this feels familiar.
When it gets so easy for everybody to get a DJ gig, and there's so many places doing it, you almost kind of, it almost gets oversaturated.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Now I think the people who really enjoy it, who are really looking to have a career as a DJ, are going to be the ones that stick it out. Still have their equipment, don't pawn their equipment.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like they're not going to give up. Like, how often do we see a DJ come and go, right? I mean, like there's always like 5 or 6 of them in every city per year. You know what I mean? Like they come and go, they figure out just how hard it really is out here for us sometimes, and then they quit. And for a fact that this made a lot of them drop like a fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
and I think
a lot of the DJs who were just kind of thinking about doing it, now that this shit happened, they're never coming back.
Yeah, and that can be a good. It sucks at the same time, but it can be a really good thing for the industry too.
Absolutely.
Because once it comes back, now you've got the people that suck it out. You've got the real hardworking DJs that know what they're doing, that are going to be getting those events. When you work in weddings, there is a tendency sometimes for people to just try to get the cheapest DJ.
You're right. The least absolutely.
DJ. And sometimes I get people all the time saying, "Man, we should have used you guys, and I shouldn't have done that." And I think that those guys are going to get kind of taken out of the game a little bit.
Good,
and there's going to be, those guys who are really ready for it are going to come back on top. And the wedding game, in the club game, corporate events, stuff like that is going to be a little bit different. But when it came back from 2008, all those corporate events came back, and it was like, damn, we got tons of stuff we got to do. There was a lot of work when it came back, right? So
sure.
I think weddings 2021 right now is looking fire, because it's like everything is rescheduled to 2021.
See, that's what I like. I like that, man. So you're thinking you're thinking that this is going to you're in like a this shall pass kind of state of mind, right? Like we're gonna wait this out, and then 2021 it's gonna come back better than ever, right? Is that kind of what I'm hearing from your side?
Yeah,
Because I'm
I
liking it.
definitely
Like
think
I
so.
need this kind of positive reinforcement from other fellow DJs because I kind of lost my I don't know what I was kind of thinking about with DJing and producing. I had a very negative thought process on it when all of this
Yeah,
happened because I was bitter because I finally was able to do it full time, and then I feel like I just all the other problems in the entire world. The problem with me, the problem not DJing isn't relative to what really is happening out there right now, and I
yeah.
realize that a lot.
But
So
it is hard when it's your number one way, your number one breadwinner. It's a huge hit to take. I know that one thing I've been trying to do is just really take the extra time to focus on my production, focus on making edits, focus on remixes, really build up that catalog that I didn't have time to do because I was gigging so much. Now I
right.
got all the time in the world. I'm making, I'm trying to release at least 2 or 3 songs a week. I have a couple different artist names that I release under. Trying to do some of those DJ edits and stuff that I finally have time to
Cool,
do.
man.
So
Okay.
when it rebuilds up, then maybe I can just have
So
that
you're
momentum.
producing music too, Bear.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty awesome,
absolutely.
dude. So you have a couple different artist names that you use. So that was another question I was gonna have for you, man. So keeping motivated right now. I mean, so one thing that you're doing during this time is maybe redirecting some of that energy to focus on producing some of your own tunes, right? I mean, people are
Yeah,
streaming music more now than they ever were. I'll tell you that,
yeah,
because everybody's inside. But so it makes sense to pursue the production aspect of music right now because it just kind of makes sense. It's like, why not sit here, during all this time, if we have the gear to do it, why not crank out a bunch of different songs? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And if you
yeah,
release them
for
right
sure.
during this time, there's no telling, how many listeners you could accumulate.
Yeah, and that's a couple of the DJs that I work with a lot are pretty talented producers as well. So we're creating a little. I wouldn't call it a record label. Like record label's almost dead, and
It is.
what we would be doing, right? But a little crew of musicians, and we're all coming together, getting our merch together, getting our music together, and just instead of focusing all of our time on live streaming, which just hasn't. I haven't found a way for anybody of my size. I am not a go pack a stadium DJ. I'm a functional feed the family, make it day to day DJ, right?
Sure,
And
absolutely.
so to make it through that, live stream is just not going to pay the bills, right?
I don't
So
think
if you
so either. I think you're
diversify,
right.
yeah, if you diversify a little bit, you come up with your different levels of what you have to offer. Then you can use this time to really focus on that. So I usually worked about 12 hours a day. My wife works her ass off. She's a very busy and luckily still doing very well in her career. So I just like if I was working 12 hours a day doing that, I need to work 12 hours a day now, working on everything
Exactly.
I can to
Exactly,
build it
man.
back up. So that's been my way of staying motivated, I guess, is like can't take a break. I'm just switching what I'm focusing on, and that's
There we
it.
go. So you're not actually taking a break. You're channeling that energy into what you can do right now, right? Which is
Yeah,
produce music, man, and
yeah,
keep that up. I just recently started diving back into making hip hop beats, and
awesome,
on BeatStars, bro. I started a BeatStars account,
good.
and I figure why not? Right now, because it's just so if you just tweak a couple. I've tweaked a couple things in my production process because I've actually had the time to sit down and do it because we're not gigging, right? So,
Yep.
and it looks like, I don't know, man, it looks and seems like, BeatStars and selling beats online is like a huge way to profit, apparently, from what I've researched. Let's see, call me back, buddy.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
cool, perfect.
Can you see me all right?
Yeah, I can see you perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No,
yeah,
we're good.
so I think you were talking about BeatStars, though. I think that is exactly what I'm talking about. Is just that's another avenue where it, maybe channeling and having that little extra time. At least that's something that if you work hard at it,
You
could
can
make
you can
some
profit
income
off of it. Apparently, that's what I've heard. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep pushing away at that, man. All right. So here's my favorite question when out of this whole bit here. Dude, I've heard some crazy conspiracy stories. I mean, like, I wasn't really a conspiracy theorist until just very recently. You know what I mean? Like, some of the things I've been hearing about, about how twisted our government is, and some of the things I'm hearing about a lot of things are just pulling me in different directions. And I'll tell you what, I've dove deeper into conspiracy theory, and I've learned more crap that I never thought I'd hear in my life in just this recent months. In your own opinion, Bear, what is the craziest, wildest, wackiest conspiracy theory that you can think of that you have heard recently, since the crisis has started?
Okay, the one that cracks me up the most is, the white and blue masks, like almost like a hospital style mask that everybody's using.
Right.
They have the little wire so you can bend it around your nose, because it always I got my beard and everything, right? It always pokes me in the eyeballs. So you can bend that around your nose. But everybody was saying that was a 5G wire that was put into the mask so they could spy on us.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I believe in a decent amount of conspiracy theories myself.
Me too.
That one cracked me up though. I was like, I don't know, bro.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one, I got to admit. Oh my God.
What's yours?
Man. Well, anyway, Bear, just to circle back, man, I appreciate you taking my call and answering some of these questions for me, man. And it's been a pleasure, really a pleasure talking to you. And because for one, I lost a lot of my own motivation, man, and that's the whole motivating reason behind doing this podcast. And big shout out to Indiepreneur, Circa, all those guys in the indie group that we're all a part of. And I just wanted that and that's Indiepreneur. That's been great too. I've dove really deep into that with Circa and all the videos that he's put out for us to watch. It's been very interesting because I've actually had the time to watch them, and that was where the seed was planted for me to do this podcast. And then I got so down about DJing recently that I'm like, I have to talk to some other people out of the state. I got to talk to some other people that are going through the same thing I'm doing and going through in my head, and just get the word out that it's gonna be okay. Damn it, he was disconnecting. Yo.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
And yeah.
But I figured, but I was just gonna circle back to, the whole, like I said, the whole reason for wanting to do this podcast was to just keep other, just to keep other DJs like us who are going through the same thing, just to make sure that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We do think positively on it. And Bear, you're thinking to yourself like, this reminds you of the recession sort of, and what's kind of going on. And we're in crazy times with the election, but your resolution is, in this, through the whole thing, your resolution is, what I've heard from you is, it's going to be all right. There is light at the end of the tunnel. The gigs are going to come back. They may not be the same as it was, but it's going to come back, and we will all be gigging again.
Yeah, and it's gonna really show who should stick around and who has the work ethic and the mentality to make it still happen. So I think I was in a club when Y2K happened. I was in a club DJing when 9/11 happened.
Really?
I was in the clubs DJing when the 2008 recession happened. I've been in the club for all those things.
And now it's COVID, right?
It always comes back. People need music. People need entertainment. People need people that are talented and focus their energy onto that. So it won't go away. It's gonna. I mean, right now it sucks. I can't act like it's all positive. There's a lot of negatives to it.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep that positive mindset. I think it's cool too. If this wouldn't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about.
You're right, and you're right.
Stuff like that either. So I think it'll build a little community for people too. So that's awesome.
I think it will too, man. I think that will be just fine, dude. I think that all of us as DJs and everybody listening right now, I just remember that you're hearing it from Brainwreck, you're hearing it from Bear right now. We are we are right in there with you, and Godspeed to all the other DJs out there listening right now. And remember, it's gonna be okay. It is gonna come back. You're hearing it from Bear Gallagher, a veteran in our game right here. He was there through Y2K, 9/11. God rest all those souls. And the recession, and now he feels like this is the next roadblock, COVID. And I hope that he's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, hey Bear, I appreciate you taking my call, and I appreciate you answering all my questions, man. I hope that you and I can do some work in the future, and let's stay connected. All right, brother?
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
Bear, it was a pleasure meeting you, man. I'll holler at you in Messenger.
Right on.
I'll talk to you, brother. See ya.
Later, man.
This is gonna be fire, baby. That was awesome. Shit.